Now we will take a tour of Canvas. I do use Canvas to turn in assignments. However, for your class, for the bigger assignments such as the assessment toolkit and the case study, I will take it either way, either hard copy or you can upload it to Canvas. You will find under the Syllabus tab, the syllabus is there. Also, there's a link at the very top that will take you to a Word document, which is a little bit easier to print, I find, than off Canvas. The next piece is assignments, and so I want to spend a little bit of time here looking at the different assignments and the rubrics that go with those assignments. So you'll see you have 3 major assignments for this course. The first being reading presentations, your assessment toolkit, and your culminating project of the case study. Let's start with the reading presentation. And I'm going to scroll down here. So each week, someone from the class will be assigned to kind of be the lead or the facilitator of the discussion of our readings for that week. Basically, you will need to prepare some activities, be that turn and talk, small group project, a whole group project. This is not just a stand and deliver type of presentation, although that can be a part of it. You can do a PowerPoint to help guide you. That's totally acceptable. Or if you want to use some other form, a Prezi or anything, infographic, anything like that would be acceptable. Basically, what I'm looking for is active engagement with the class. So let's scroll down here and take a look at the rubric. So basically, I'm looking at your knowledge. Do you understand the content of the readings, and are you able to impart that knowledge, if you will, to your classmates? And the active engagement, and that's really a huge piece of this. Are you making sure that everyone is engaged with the content? And then how are they actively engaged? And then questions. And I really want you to think about Bloom's taxonomy here and really get into some deeper questioning, critical thinking type skills, application, those types of things. And so that's what that assignment will look like. Our next assignment, if I can scroll back up here, a little bit off my screen. There we go. Our next assignment is the assessment toolkit. This is hopefully you'll find it a very helpful assignment. I had to do this when I was doing my reading specialist certification, and I still use this toolkit today whenever I'm assessing students in the area of literacy. So basically, it can be done electronically or it can be done hard copy in a binder, whichever fits your learning style better. And you're going to include all the assessments that we go through in the course, but I'd also like for you to include assessments that you might use in your districts or that you might find during your research in the course that you think might be helpful. The categories you can see include all of these, and oops, scrolled a little too far. And the one I'd like to add that I will add on there is comprehension as well. So looking at all those different areas, some different assessments that you'll have to assess those areas of literacy to help guide your instruction. You'll see that it's not due till April 3rd. That's because we want to go through the bulk of those in class before that assignment is due. So one thing you might think about is as we're going through each one of the sections, you complete that section in your assessment toolkit. That's a way to kind of stay on top of it and you're not waiting until the end to organize it and put it all together. So basically, the criterion is that it's organized in a user-friendly way where anyone can really pick it up and understand it. It has a variety of assessments for each area of those areas that it's listed, so they would be sectioned off by the different areas of reading. making sure that the information includes, there'll be a cover sheet for each assessment where you talk about the purpose of the assessment, you talk about the administration instructions, as well as the validity and reliability of the assessment. Now, some more informal assessments, you might just say that that information was not available, and that's okay, just so you address it. And then your rationale. Why are you including this assessment in your toolkit? What do you like about it? What do you feel, what information do you feel like it's going to give you? And then basically the descriptions of how and when to use the assessments. So this will all be on the cover page that you'll have for each one of the assessments, and then your binder or your electronic portfolio will be divided into sections for each of the areas of reading listed up here, including comprehension. So I hope you'll find that tool very, very useful. The last assignment is the culminating assignment for the course, and that is your case study. You are going to choose a student, and I would recommend a student that you have pretty easy access to, because you're going to be doing multiple assessments with this student. So you're going to want to have more than just one day of access to the student. The student needs to be kindergarten through 12th grade. It would be preferable if they're a beginning reader, or if they're an older student, a struggling reader. That is not mandatory. You could still do assessments and talk about enrichment activities and ways you would further develop their skills. So I'm not going to make that a mandatory requirement, but I do feel like you get more from the assignment if you have a student who is an emerging reader, a beginning reader, or a student that's struggling, so you can really pinpoint some of their weaknesses and help strengthen them. So you will need all of the assessment data, and then you will develop some lesson plans in response to that assessment data, and then reflect about the lessons being taught and how those went. So what you'll see down here is you'll do an initial observation on that student, and that should include your impressions of the student, what you think their strengths and weaknesses are prior to you doing any assessments. In your observation, you can include your student's role in the classroom, his interactions with you or with their teacher, his or her interactions with other students, as well as why are you thinking about selecting the student. And it can be as simple as, this is a student I have access to. If you maybe know this child more personally and you don't see them in the classroom, maybe talk a little bit with the parents and see what their impressions are, or even kind of interviewing the student to see what he or she thinks of school, and do they have a lot of friends, and those types of things. So you can gather that information without actually having observed them in the classroom. The next piece is the collection of this assessment data, and you will do age-appropriate assessments or developmentally appropriate assessments. So I'm not going to per se give you a list of here are the assessments you must include. However, assessments that we go over in class that would be appropriate for that age or developmental level of the student should be included. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the class. Then you'll do a report that summarizes all of the assessment data that you have collected, and that really shows that you understand, first of all, how to administer the assessments, and then second of all, how to interpret those assessments and turn them into data that can be useful. Then you'll have your instructional goals. So based on your summative report, you're going to write 2 instructional goals, one for reading and one for writing, and talk about the different areas that you're going to focus on for instruction. When we write these goals, we want them to be what we call SMART goals. So they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So making sure we're working in that format. And again, we'll go deeper into what those goals might look like in class. You will also do 2 lesson plans, and those would follow the Maryville format. They need to be tied to the areas of concern that you found through the assessments, and also relate to your goals that were set. So these would, the goal of your lesson would derive from your instructional goals that you've created. And then lastly, you'll do a reflection on those you'll do a reflection on each of those lesson plans once you've implemented them with the student. And then finally, you'll do a final reflection. So that's where you're really going to do a summary on the whole process, the process of the assessments, the process of the goal setting and the lessons, and what you've learned. And then really thinking of, so what have you learned from this experience? How might this experience help you? And really think about how you've grown in the area of instruction and assessment, and really targeting instruction through this project. And then lastly, include recommendations for further instruction. So you've done 2 lessons with this kid. What would you recommend to continue this student's progress? You will see that this assignment is not due until April 24th, so close to the end of class. This is really our culminating project for this class. And again, we will talk more about that in class. One thing that you could be doing now, though, is figuring out who your student might be. And if you have special circumstances where you don't have access to kids, you know, we can work through that as well. I have a couple sons who have been subject to graduate student and undergraduate student testing almost all their lives, so they're very used to that, and so I can work with you to find a student to use for your case study. So those are the assignments, and of course you'll have grades on pages in in Canvas, excuse me. Here I will create a page and post any additional resources that we might have, so any articles we might be reading for class, or the PowerPoints from class will also be posted on there after class has been held. So you'll have access to all the information. That's really about all I use on Canvas. We use it pretty sparingly, but we will turn in assignments there. If we do an online class due to snow or due to something coming up where we're not able to meet in class, I usually will do some type of discussion board, which would be found under discussions. So hopefully you're familiar with Canvas. If you haven't used Canvas before and you're not as familiar with it, please let me know and I can help you walk through that. I'm going to end this recording and then we will come back and do our next section of the course. What I would like for you to do is just turn and talk and about the expectations for the course, and any questions that you might have, Dr. Glazer can record. Thank you so much.